Thank you very much. And let's start, first of all, with a congratulations to Aquatour for this great event. It's really wonderful to see so many wonderful faces and also to feel the atmosphere. Let's give an applause to Aquatour to start with. So this was a test. I hope you all hear the translation, right? Okay. Good. Okay. So, my name is Susanne, and I was born and raised in Switzerland, in a country where democracy and equity is at the very top of priorities. I've been working in the tourism sector for about 18 years now, and for more than a decade, I was serving the Swiss tour operators to find new destinations, to find new routes, itineraries, to find new SMEs to work with all over the globe. Always with the goal to be the first ones to bring the experiences back into Europe and to sell it to the Swiss and European customers. It was truly a dream job for me. And the operations that I was surfing for was trekking, it was mountaineering, it was mountain biking and outdoor sports. This dream job ended for me in some day in 2015. I was in Nepal together with a group of people to experience a new offer, which was a climb of a 6,500 meter high mountain in the Himalayas. It was peak day. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. We were on the glacier and we had an accident. Our trekking cook, he fell into a crevasse on the glacier. When I called the rescue in Kathmandu, in the capital, to ask for a helicopter to save him, they asked me the million-dollar question. Is it a tourist or is it one of the local crew? When I explained that it is our trekking guide that fell into the crevasse, they would refuse to come with the helicopter to save. The reason was that they knew that the trekking cook, the Nepali, he couldn't afford the profitable price they asked for the helicopter rescue. They preferred to stay in the base and to wait until another tourist or an international tourist would call and would be willing to pay $10,000 or $20,000 for a rescue. This is not equity. But this is what tourism can do to people. This is not sustainable tourism. It's against the human rights. And it's missing out on the social aspect of sustainability totally. So it somehow destroyed a bit my world. And I went back home and I quit my job. And I knew I don't want to contribute to that development. And I was looking for an opportunity to work in tourism where sustainability is at the core of everything we do. Because I had a dream. I was a bit naive and I wanted to change the world. And I knew I cannot. But I knew I can be one piece. I can be one piece in the whole line to do a change. And this saying came across when I was looking for the preparation, and I think it really fits. Those who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world, they are the ones who do. It only takes one person to make a positive change. And this one person can be any one of us. That's how I came to Swiss Contact. So Swiss Contact offered me a job in tourism where sustainability is at the core of development. We're at the moment implementing 23 projects in tourism across the globe. We have been working in about 32 countries in the past, in the 26 years before and of course also today. We have a portfolio. This is going across the global south, and we have quite a bit of experience in LATAM, either right now or in past closed projects. And when we talk about sustainable tourism development, we need to ask ourselves, or we at Swiss Contact, we ask ourselves, what do we want to achieve with that? And to do so, we're asking the question, what problems do we want to solve? So that's our approach. We go from what's the problem which we want to decrease, reduce, or in the perfect world, what could we solve? So we do bundle the global challenges which we analyzed and observed across the globe, in all the continents, in 5 categories. So we say that many problems which we face are around skills mismatch. There is not enough skills development available, or the quality is not good enough, the accessibility is not given, it's not inclusive, and on top of that, sustainable tourism practices are until today still lacking in many contexts. And if sustainable tourism practices are not well known, we risk to harm the environment with tourism. So we contribute to climate change. That's an issue. But we also suffer from climate change. If there is no more rain or much more rain, if there is no more snow or more snow, if sea levels are rising or decreasing, if seasons are changing, this has a huge effect on destinations. Then competitiveness, we call it international competitiveness. That's a challenge. How do you somehow stand out also in comparison to your neighboring countries, or to countries who do offer or similar landscapes, similar experiences? So how do you stand out? That's still a challenge across the globe, also for Switzerland, I think for everyone. Vulnerable livelihoods, of course, if we do not develop tourism sustainably, we risk to put people at risk with displacement or low socioeconomic benefits. That's a real risk in tourism if we don't take care. Then the whole informality of the sector is a topic. The whole structure friendly to develop sustainable tourism or not? This is still something which we are working on a lot. So what we do at Swiss Contact is trying to transfer these challenges into opportunities and solutions. And that's how we came about these 5 main focus pillars, saying, instead of saying this is a problem, we say we want to strengthen skills. We want to protect the environment with tourism. We want to increase competitiveness. And we want to support and strengthen local communities. And we want to enable the ecosystem to be friendly for sustainable tourism. And we have heard xito sometimes during these days. And if we look at our strategic focus areas, we can clearly see that xito, together with Acotur, Pro Colombia, and all the partners, we're working on the competitiveness pillar. But I'm not here today to talk about Colombia. Not so much about Colombia. And of course, surely I'm the person in this room who is the latest one, the least one who should talk about Colombia. But I can share experiences from across the globe. So I'm going to make a small tour of the world from Indonesia to Cambodia, to the north of Africa, Tunisia, and then to Colombia. No, not to Colombia, to Peru. And I show you how we address in actual projects these challenges by searching for solutions. Let's start with Indonesia. In the very east of Asia, there is Indonesia, a country with hundreds and thousands of islands. And we were mandated by the Swiss government to support the development of tourism by organizing tourism, but also to increase competitiveness and to strengthen the local communities. Because in Indonesia, there are hundreds, thousands of local and indigenous communities living on these islands. So this part, which I'm going to explain you now, is this local community strengthening example. The challenges in Indonesia in only focusing on the communities is that, and I think many of the things I will tell you will be familiar to many people in here, but I'm focusing now on Indonesia, explaining that many of the local indigenous communities have very low economic opportunities. They are inexperienced in identifying what is actually what the client wants. What kind of offer can I develop which is attractive to the market? And there's also a problem that they're not attached, they're not networked and somehow connected to the buyers, to the tour operators. So they're very detached oftentimes. And if there is educational offer, it often doesn't fit to the needs of the local communities. So we tried to find opportunities and came up with a project that has the goal to increase the capacities of local communities to develop and manage suitable and attractive offers, but not also to know, but then also to implement it. And of course, according to their common vision to attract more tourists. The product which we have developed is called Casos Coaching. Casos means Community Coaching on Sustainability. It's a coaching program that stimulates somehow the harmonization between the supply and the demand of tourism offers. And it was developed together with tour operators, with many other tourism stakeholders as well, to have all the perspectives. And this coaching is in line with the GSTC criteria, and it's also recognized by the local Ministry of Tourism in Indonesia. It's important for me to mention here that Casos is a coaching. It's not a training. We don't train, we coach. And coaching for us means we support the dialogue. We make roundtable, we discuss with the people, we listen and we learn. Because the knowledge is with the people, there's so much which is there, which we can valorize into tourism products. It's not about teaching, it's about supporting, or this Casos is about supporting people to exploit the potential of the way of living, of what they already do, to embrace and somehow to recognize the tradition and the history in the communities. This is the coaching curriculum. We will share that with you later, that you can have a look if you're interested. We talk with people in the form of workshops through all these 9 modules, and it's the coach who visits the communities 2 to 6 times per topic. So we're not having very intense, long days, but we are going again and again, and it's a continuous process, and we try to somehow stimulate that people find their own solutions. The topics which we are talking about is what is tourism, what is sustainability in tourism, health, safety, cleanliness. It's about how to organize the community. It's about finances, it's about product development, trips, it's about tour guides, it's about food, waste, and homestays. What is unique about Casos? So if we work with Casos, we work with really, really easy to understand materials. We work a lot with pictures, with video, and also with haptic tools, we don't have a lot of written materials because we want to stimulate an inclusive communication. And through the fact that it's not a training but a coaching, people really participate very actively, which leads to the fact that they take ownership of what they propose by their own. And the COCOS goes beyond just the classroom discussions. At the end of the COCOS modules, the goal is that they have an action plan at hand, so that they know as a community what they want, in which direction they want to go, and that they have an action plan how to start implementing the measures. This is a very short video from the component lead who leads the tourism project, and it's going to be translated because it's in Indonesian. There's no sound.
Kabupaten yang terpilih dari Manggarai Barat, Kabupaten Manggarai, dan Kabupaten Ende. Pendapatan dari penjualan jasa di tahun 2020 mencapai Saya Xito dari DMO Flores yang berkantor di Ende. Pada tahun 2019, DMO Flores bekerja sama dengan Project Sustur untuk memulai sebuah program pendekatan pengembangan SDM berbasis komunitas yang dikenal dengan COCOS atau Community Coaching on Sustainability. Program ini berfokus pada 3 kabupaten yang terpilih dari Manggarai Barat, Kabupaten Manggarai, dan Kabupaten Ende. Pendapatan dari penjualan jasa di tahun 2020 mencapai Rp45.800.000 dan meningkat pada tahun 2021 menjadi Rp66 juta. Untuk saat ini, belum ada lembaga lain yang berfokus pada pengembangan community seperti yang telah kami lakukan di destinasi. Dengan berakhirnya Project Sustur di tahun 2022 ini, DMO Flores dapat melanjutkan kembali program COCOS bersama mitra yang lainnya, yakni Der Touristic Foundation yang menjadi donor program COCOS tahun 2022 sampai tahun 2023. Terima kasih untuk dukungan Sustur dan sukses terus untuk kita semua. Terima kasih.
So, this project is over. We finished it up by the end of last year. And the impact which we had was training 8 communities on COCOS. This sounds like few, but the goal was to prove this concept. We did train 8 communities to show that this can work, to somehow pilot this whole program. And then the main intervention is we trained 36 trainers and 34 master trainers with the goal that they continue training trainers and then coaching communities on COCOS once the project is over. To do so, we also opened 7 advisory services where trainers could offer their services to communities and to governments. And we could already roll it out in Indonesia in 4 different regions where the government bought into COCOS, and in Wakatobi, this is one of the islands, is even included in the main tourism master plan. This year, we could roll out the COCOS in Nepal, where communities have similar challenges to overcome. So, what can I take or give you away? What can I offer? There is a COCOS fact sheet that is actually summarizing what I just said, that is showing the curriculum, and that offers contact in case someone is interested to learn more about that program. So much to community strengthening. We're going to move on to Africa, to the very north of Africa in the Maghreb region in Tunisia. In Tunisia, we were mandated to implement a project in the desert Sahara, in Dahar, a region where very few tourism happened, but quite many villages existed and people who lived there who struggle making a life in this deserty, dry region. I'm going to focus here on the part of competitiveness, but in such a big project, of course, we touch up on all these strategic pillars. But in competitiveness, or the competitiveness part is something which was very, very fundamental for us to start with, because if there is no offer, what do we want to regulate? What do we want to organize? So the challenge in Tunisia, in this Taha region, was that there was very low diversity in tourism offer, and there was also not enough offer. There was low and inconsistent services because people were then also forced to do other jobs, other things, and then we often had a mismatch with demand and availability, and also the profitability was very low of the sector. And on top of that, it was recognized or identified that in the neighboring countries like Egypt and Morocco, tourism numbers always increased, but not so much in Tunisia and not at all in the desert of Sahara. So with this project, we had the goal to enhance the attractiveness of this region, to improve the incoming and the living conditions of the people, and to strengthen the governance of tourism by establishing a destination. We wanted to educate people, and we wanted to focus very much on collaboration between the different suppliers and stakeholders. The solutions we came up with was a 12-day trekking route that crosses all the 10 villages of the destination Dahar. The reason why we came up with this lifeline was because we realized that if they want to attract international tourists, we cannot just have single offers and single hospitality offers, and here a product, and here a cooking class, and here a horse riding activity. This is not enough to attract people to travel in such a remote area. So we felt that having this 195-kilometer long hiking trail as a lifeline, and then to add on all the edges and points more offers from different service providers, that could be a way how we can build a very strong destination offer that is then possible to book tailor-made, that you can add and drop stuff depending on the needs of the customers. What we did is mostly working on the skills part, on the development part, and then also on the DMO structure. So we did generate or develop 11 curriculums for people to guide, but also people to maintain this trekking route. So how to put signs? Do we need signs at all? And then taxi drivers, donkey drivers who do carry the luggage, and who is cooking on the way, and what about the hospitality? So we did have these 11 curriculums, and we trained around 440 people, and also here again, we trained more than 30 trainers to continue with these trainings. And you can somehow identify that that's the way how we work. We always want to make sure that we build trainers who can continuously support the destination and the people beyond the tourism projects. Then for these 195 kilometers of route, we piloted 900 kilometers to find the best ways, the most attractive ways, how to get from village to village on the nicest possible path. Then we trained about 30 accommodations and restaurants to improve their services or to start services. And we did map around 100 places nice to see on the road. It could have been a nice tree, a viewpoint, a cave. It could have been something historical, just that we could enrich the trekking map with attractions on the go. Then after some years of work, we kind of had some offer, and we started to invest a lot into promotion. That's when we started to have fame trips, media trips. That's when we started to go to trade fairs and to really promote this offer as a whole destination. And to enable this whole collaboration, we did start the destination management organization of Dahar, where the whole range of tourism products was organized. Then we also supported around 40 companies to formalize their business. So from informality to formality. And of course, the collaboration part was very, very crucial, because across these 10 villages, people didn't know each other, even though it was very close. It was maybe 10, 20 kilometers apart, but people didn't know. So we invested a lot in trust building within the community, and somehow to make sure that this common vision is lived, that people believe in the same vision of tourism to support their livelihoods. This is a short promotional video of the hiking trail. It doesn't have text. Sound. This project was successful. We were awarded for the work, and first of all, we could certify the destination Dahar as Green Destination member, which is acknowledged by GSTC. And it's one of the few destinations in Africa who is certified today. Then we won the To-Do Award to respect the human rights in tourism, to focus on this social aspect of sustainability when working with the people and when we developed tourism. And we also won a prize which is called Best Food and Tourism Book in the World in 2023, because as one of the add-on offers to that hiking trail, we developed a recipe book that joined the history of the region with the traditions of the region and culinary recipe. So it's somehow a merge, a symbiosis of history and traditions and food. And the offer around this culinary tourism is that people can book cooking classes, that you go to the markets, you buy together the food or the ingredients which you need for the cooking classes, and you also go one step further, you go to the supplier, you visit the farmers, the gardeners, the mill, whoever is supplying the food. And also here, with the culinary book, we have a promotional video which we distributed with the help, maybe I need to mention that as well, with the help of social media chefs, influencer chefs, but also well-renowned chefs, which were willing to support us with the development of the book by transferring the traditional recipes, which we received in a roundtable session from the grandmothers and mothers of the region. They helped us to translate that into a bit a more modern dish dish recipe book, but still remaining the essence of the culture and the traditions. And this is the promotional video. So, what have we achieved in terms of impact? During this, it was a long phase. It was 8 years of development. During this phase, we could create 320 jobs in tourism in the region of Dahar and about 760 jobs which are indirectly linked to tourism. And people did invest a lot of private money. Once they bought in, once people were convinced, there was somehow a self-running mechanism starting, and people invested a lot in more projects, in more ideas, in more offers, and somehow, until today, the region is getting more and more interesting and attractive. There's still many projects that people want to implement, but now the project is finished and we will see how this is going to continue. I believe it's possible, but this is, at the moment, these are projects. And already in the first few years of the project, we could increase 20% of incoming tourists into Dahar, and considering that we needed to start almost from zero with building the offer, I think this is quite a great increase for the first years. So what can I give you away here? You can go and check on the homepage of the Dahar destination. You can go and download the destination application. But I want to highlight here the prize which we won in the social aspect of sustainability, about human rights, respecting the rights of the people working in this sector. So the Human Rights for Tourism Roundtable offers a great range of information and templates how to assess the working conditions of people, how to assess as a supplier, but also as a destination, and above all as tour operators who need to somehow track on what's going on with the supplier and how we align on human rights. So they offer a lot of information, how to assess, how to analyze gaps, how to improve, and they also offer e-learnings to learn about this social aspect of sustainability. This is free of charge and is available for everyone. And then if someone is interested in having a look at this recipe book, it's here. I will keep it here over lunch, and if someone wants to see how they combine history, tradition, and food, you can go and have a look. Now, we're moving back to Asia, into Cambodia. And we talk about Hoka. Hoka is a hospitality project which we are still implementing. We're in the third phase of that project. And it's all about empowering people in the hospitality sector as fast as possible, but as effective as possible without going through hospitality university courses, but on the go, on the job, improve quality and performance of people working in the hospitality sector. So that's the pillar of skills. And in Cambodia, they had the challenge or the nice situation that tourism was growing quite fast. And today it contributes more than with 13% to the national GDP. And this is somehow a reliance of the economy on tourism. With this growth, they faced the challenge that they needed more and more skilled people in the hospitality sector, but they didn't have. They couldn't meet the demand of, or just these fast growing numbers were overwhelming for the sector, and people couldn't actually stand up to the expectations of the tourists. It's also limited educational availability in the country, and there's very few hands-on education for people, so it's somehow a mismatch of the offer and demand. And also the sector needed the people yesterday, not in 2 years, not in 3 years, but there needed to be something in place that bridges the gap of today's needs and until people maybe graduated from university with increased promotion for that sector to study. So this project came into place with the goal to develop high quality in-house training for very targeted occupations, so not for the whole sector, not for whole hospitality, but very targeted on different occupations. And also with the goal to improve, of course, the incomes and jobs for people, also a lot, of course, of women working in the hospitality sector. The goal was that this training, or always the goal is that the trainings are recognized. And here we made sure that the Ministry of Tourism is buying into that project, that whatever we do is recognized by the ministry. And we wanted to create a model that can be scaled. So also here, when the project is ending, what is going to happen? How can this continue? The solution here is Hoka. It's a training module, a 12 modules training offer. And unlike the Casos, which I explained before, this is really training. This is not discussion, this is not coaching people finding their solutions, it's really training. And we train in 6 occupations, and the training efforts or the time which you need to invest is really, really low. On total classroom, classroom means in a hotel, training in groups is only 6 days. But it's very targeted, and it's sometimes 6 days in a row, sometimes it's 6 days, just half a day per week, then you are trained across 3 months. It's very, it depends somehow on the context on the course of the destination where this project is being implemented. But it's a very low time amount which you need to invest. But on top of these 6 days, people are accompanied by the trainer on the job. So the trainer is following the trainee in his daily routine and helps him to improve his performance. And this is one-to-one individual. And then people need to go through self-study in order to pass the exam that they get the recognition by the Ministry of Tourism. The trainers who deliver that training, they're ASEAN recognized. This is an organization in Asia, and this means that if someone obtains that certification, he can also go in neighboring countries and work in the hospitality sector in neighboring countries because ASEAN is recognized across the region. And here, I mean, that's somehow the key message for that Hoka. It's very low invest, but it's a very high impact. These are the 6 occupations which we support. And every occupation, of course, has a different curriculum. So while in the food and beverage sector we mainly talk about service skills or how to mix drinks, restaurant equipment, service excellence, we would then in housekeeping more invest into information about bedding, linen, about cleaning the public areas, about housekeeping, additional housekeeping services which one could offer to clients. So it's really different from occupation to occupation. And the way how this project is being set up is that at the very top of this circle we have the project owner. In our case, this is Swiss Contact, who is organizing the whole setup and has the link to the government to ensure whatever we build is recognized. Then we have a local implementer in the field, and they go and knock the door from hospitality provider to hospitality provider, and they explain what is your input and what can you get out of such a training if you send your employees. So they trigger the demand by going really from door to door. Then we have the technical trainers. The technical trainers are the ones who do give the trainings. Every training is in the hospitality, in a hotel with the service providers. So it's not classroom like with desk, but it's in the, if you're working on housekeeping, you're most likely having the classes in the hotel room, for example. So he's giving the trainings, and it's also the trainer, the technical trainer, who is then shadowing the trainee in the workplace for a certain amount of time to see how he works and to help him improving his performance. Then an important part of that whole ecosystem is the employer. They need to buy in and need to be willing to invest 6 working days, either in 1 week or across several months, to let the trainee or the employee go and attend the courses. And he needs to be willing to have the trainer in-house to shadow the trainee. Then the trainee, of course, he needs to be willing to learn, to commit to these 6 days, to the shadowing, and also to the self-study. And at the end, as I said before, always the government, local government, or depending on the context, official public, the public side, taking with us along the whole process to ensure the recognition. This is a short video about a project where some trainees and also some trainers and component leads are explaining how they look at this project.
ទេសចរគឺជាវិស័យអាទិភាពមួយនឹងត្រូវចាត់ទុកជាមាសបៃតងនិងជាការនាំចេញនៅនឹងកន្លែងក្នុងដំណើរអភិវឌ្ឍសេដ្ឋកិច្ចនិងសង្គមតាមរយៈការចូលរួមចំណែកយ៉ាងសំខាន់ក្នុងការបង្កើនប្រាក់ចំណូលបង្កើតការងារនិងទាក់ទាញការវិនិយោគ កម្ពុជាទទួលបានកំណើនដ៏ខ្ពស់នៃចំនួនភ្ញៀវទេសចរអន្តរជាតិពីមួយឆ្នាំទៅមួយឆ្នាំដោយមានការកើនឡើងពីត្រឹម 290,000 នាក់នៅក្នុងឆ្នាំ 1998 រហូតដល់ជាង 5 លាននាក់នៅក្នុងឆ្នាំ 2016 ដែលបង្កើតចំណូលជាតិដល់ទៅជាង 3.4 ប៊ីលានដុល្លារសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកដែលស្មើនឹងប្រមាណ 13% នៃផលិតផលក្នុងស្រុកសរុប ដូច្នេះហើយការលើកកម្ពស់គុណភាពសេវាកម្មផ្នែកបដិសណ្ឋារកិច្ចគឺជាទិសដៅចម្បងមួយក្នុងការជំរុញបន្ថែមលើដំណើរអភិវឌ្ឍវិស័យទេសចរណ៍នៅកម្ពុជា
ដើម្បីឆ្លើយតបនឹងជំរុញទៅលើវិស័យទេសចរណ៍កម្មវិធីវគ្គបណ្ដុះបណ្ដាលមួយបានបង្កើតឡើងដែលមានឈ្មោះថាហុកការសិក្ខាកាមដែលជាអ្នកបម្រើការងារនៅក្នុងផ្នែកវិស័យទេសចរណ៍ដែលមកពីកន្លែងផ្សេងគ្នាត្រូវបានជ្រើសរើសឲ្យចូលរួមនៅក្នុងវគ្គបណ្ដុះបណ្ដាលរបស់ហុកការ រយៈពេលមួយខែកន្លះដែលយើងធ្វើឡើងមួយថ្ងៃក្នុងមួយសប្តាហ៍
ដែលបានជួបជាមួយលោកគ្រូដំបូងដែលគាត់ទៅផ្ដល់ជាព័ត៌មាននៅកន្លែងហ្នឹងគាត់ចាប់ផ្ដើមគាត់ថាកាយនេះមួយហ្នឹងដូចជាយើងធ្លាប់ធ្វើរាល់ថ្ងៃហើយកន្លែងមួយចំនួនមើលទៅដូចយើងធ្លាប់រៀនហើយប៉ុន្តែគិតមួយសារទៀតអូអត់កែទេគួរតែរៀនបន្ថែម ពេលដែលមករៀនមែនដូចអ្វីដែលគិតគឺកន្លែងខ្លះយើងធ្លាប់រៀនមែនប៉ុន្តែកន្លែងដែលយើងអត់ធ្លាប់រៀនគឺមានច្រើន
គ
ធីបណ្ដុំបណ្ដាលបដិសណ្ឋារកិច្ចសម្រាប់កម្ពុជាដែលយើងហៅថាហៅកា Hospitality for កម្ពុជានេះគឺជាគម្រោងស្ថិតក្នុងក្រោមកិច្ចសហប្រតិការរវាងក្រសួងទេសចរជាមួយនឹងអង្គការ Swiss-Contact ហើយយើងធ្វើការបណ្ដុំបណ្ដាលជំនាញបដិសណ្ឋារកិច្ចទៅដល់គោលដៅខេត្តគោលដៅ5ទី1ខេត្តកញ្ចេះខេត្តសៀមត្រែងព្រះវិហារមណ្ឌលគិរីនិងរតនគិរីទៅលើជំនាញសំខាន់ដែលជាអត្ថប្រយោជន៍ណាដូចជាជំនាញសេវាកម្មហូបអាហារភេសជ្ជៈជំនាញការឡាយជួរមុខជំនាញរៀបចំបន្ទប់ជំនាញចុងភៅ
The beauty of HOKA is also it's context specific and it's not just one training for everyone because each province is different and we need to understand the industry demand.
ចឹងឯកសារបណ្ដុំបណ្ដាលយើងមានហើយជារបៀបវរៈរបស់ក្រសួងទេសចរសម្រាប់ដាក់ការបណ្ដុំបណ្ដាលថ្នាក់ក្រោមជាតិចឹងក្រៅពីខេត្ត5ដែលខ្ញុំបានលើកឡើងចាប់គម្រោងគឺខេត្តផ្សេងៗទៀតគឺគាត់មានសភៅសម្រាប់បណ្ដុំបណ្ដាលហើយក្រសួងទេសចរនឹងគាំទ្របន្ថែមទៀតទៅលើការបណ្ដុំបណ្ដាលគ្រូបង្គោលឲ្យជូនខេត្តផ្សេងៗទៀតចឹងខេត្តផ្សេងៗទៀតមានឯកសារបណ្ដុំបណ្ដាលមានគ្រូហើយចឹងគម្រោងហូកាមិនមែនតែ5ខេត្តទេទៅថ្ងៃអនាគតគឺហូកានឹងអនុវត្តការបណ្ដុំបណ្ដាលសម្រាប់រាជធានីខេត្តទាំងអស់នៅក្នុងកម្ពុជា
So we're still in the project, and in 2017 we started Hoka and we trained 50 people in the first year. By the end of 2024 we were at 6,400 people being trained, and by 2028 when the project ends the goal is to have 10,000 people trained in Hoka. We started in 5 provinces, and by now we could roll it out into 10 provinces of Cambodia, where the local governments, the regional governments, did also buy into that idea and support this training. We have about 50% female participants, and people who participated in this training, they could increase or almost double their incomes in the course of the time. And within the hospitality businesses, the satisfaction rate with this low invest but high impact training is really high. So what can I give away from this project? And from this project we can share the whole training materials. There is a training manual which is not talking about the content. It doesn't talk about which drink to mix how, but it talks about how to set up Hoka in a destination, in a region, in a specific context. So it talks about how to go about this process if someone is interested to replicate that project idea. And this will be available for you. Now, we're coming to the last example. We're coming close to Colombia, but we're stopping in Peru. And I chose this project because it's in the Peruvian Amazon region, and I think it has some similarities with Florencia. It's the gateway to the Peruvian Amazon. We're here at the gateway of the Colombian Amazon, and I want to share with you about a project. It's a short project. We're still only in year 1.5, like in the second year of the project, and it's a project with the goal to conserve the environment, to protect the forest, and using tourism as a means. And yes, it's of course we want to protect the environment with that project. So challenges may be very familiar to people who live in this area here in Florencia. It's the deforestation topic, which is really difficult in the Peruvian Amazon region, and the environmental degradation. There is very limited coordination among the people living there, among the stakeholders also already working in tourism, and the competitiveness is extremely low. The region offers limited income sources, and the indigenous people are not really well embedded in the processes also in tourism. and the whole region is vulnerable to climate change. So as I said, we're still quite at the beginning of the project, but it was very clear we need to stimulate also there the offer. We need to promote regenerative tourism as a model to contribute to conservation of the forest. And to do so, we wanted to strengthen the collaboration between the stakeholders to improve quality and also marketability. And of course, then all it goes into the direction of resilience to climate change. And here I want just to present an idea which I really like. It's very much business-driven. It's Reto Tambopata. The region in the Amazon is Madre de Dios in the Tambopata region. And they came up with a reto, with a competition, where they asked the whole tourism ecosystem to ideate, to sit together, and to come up with new great ideas, what they could do to make the destination more attractive. There were conditions. Everything they did pitch to the jury needed to contribute to forest conservation or to biodiversity protection or to climate change adaptation or mitigation. So already in the first Reto Tambopata round, there came around 22 ideas of people who had the willingness and the inspiration and innovation and creativity to change or to protect their environment with the means of tourism. 5 applications or 5 pitches were selected as winners, and they received the funds to implement their ideas. And one of the winners is a beekeeper in the village of, or next to Puerto Maldonado, and he identified, it's on the top, that of course the deforestation puts the bee species under pressure or in danger. So there was a big risk that many of the bee species would disappear. And we all know that bees are the foundation for life, for biodiversity. And he went to these regions where deforestation was being done, and he collected like rare species of bees. And he kept about 15 to 30 different species in his home and started to do research, and he started to educate the people in his environment. And then he, at some point, realized that there is an interest because every species looks different. Every species has different honey, and they also have or build different beehives. And for tourists like me, this is very exceptional because we don't have that. We have the apis. It's one somehow kind of bee which we have in Europe. And honey and beekeeping is a big topic with us, but we have never seen so many different kind of bees. So I can really relate to the attractiveness of this offer. So he started to open his stores, and then it was the time when Reto Tambopata came into place. And then he pitched and said, if I can build facilities that I can better show and accommodate visitors who come and want to learn about bees, then I can pay with the money which the visitors spend, I can pay for the research to continue and the education within the local population to continue. So he received these funds to do so, but what happened is really amazing. We all didn't think about that multiplier effect that many of the other lodges, and there are about 20 lodges in the Puerto Maldonado region, and many of these lodges, they realized that if they want to protect their forest, if they want to be competitive and have nice biodiversity to show to their visitors, if they want to be competitive, they need to make sure that they also have a variety of bees who pollinate their trees and flora in order to be rich. And they started to be interested, and they now start to replicate that model into their forests around their lodges, and we could already replicate that model various times, and the beekeeper is now offering advisory services and implementation services for other lodges to start working with the bees, and then also to have this beekeeping attraction close to the lodge. So if we talk about that project, we don't talk about tourism. We talk about biodiversity protection, we talk about conservation of forests, but we use tourism as a means to do so, as a motivation, as a reason to invest into that.
Existe una muy importante interacción, pero para que el turismo sostenible y en naturaleza se convierta en un vehículo importante para la conservación de los bosques, necesitamos alcanzar una visión compartida entre los actores en el territorio. Se requiere un mayor empoderamiento de las comunidades locales como guardianas de los recursos naturales y la biodiversidad. Ello implica fortalecer la gestión de los destinos y llegar a acuerdos sobre a dónde queremos llegar como comunidad. Necesitamos unir esfuerzos para proteger los recursos naturales que nos permiten operar las actividades turísticas. El sector turismo, en su dimensión sostenible, tiene un alto potencial para generar impactos positivos en tres dimensiones: social, ambiental y económica. Pues por un lado aporta a la generación de ingresos y empleos, contribuyendo así a mejorar la calidad de vida de las poblaciones. Pero también es un medio para la conservación de los ecosistemas y el patrimonio cultural de los pueblos.
En Morilumba lo que hacemos es rescatamos lo que es flora y abejas nativas de zonas donde se realizan actividades ilegales dentro de Madre de Dios. Y lo que hacemos aquí es conservarlas, ¿no? Que tengan un ambiente adaptable a su clima. Y gracias al programa de Destino Tambopata, junto a los aliados de Swiss Contact y WIS Academy, juntos hemos podido crecer los emprendimientos del corredor turístico Bajo Tambopata. Con su apoyo, también a los pueblos indígenas se está empoderando para que nosotros también tengamos el turismo sostenible y dentro del corredor turístico.
La idea de tener este emprendimiento es más que todo concientizar y sensibilizar a la sociedad al cuidado del medio ambiente a través de nuestras abejas nativas en Airón. El programa Destino Tambopata nos ha enseñado muchas cosas dentro de toda la cadena de valor que nosotros hacemos día a día en nuestro trabajo. Aquí tratamos de conservar nuestros bosques, tratamos de criar las abejas y todas las proyecciones de enseñanza que hemos recibido de Swiss Contact es para bien. Nos ha enseñado muchas cosas, planes de negocios, forma de llevar, cómo hacer un turismo eficiente y cómo tratar de ganar clientes, buscar eso, ¿no? Y tratar de sobresalir en este negocio.
Nosotros tenemos una área de conservación que está a solo 10 minutos de la ciudad de Puerto Maldonado. De esa forma nosotros contribuimos y desarrollamos proyectos para poder darle una sostenibilidad al proyecto, que es el área de conservación, y ese es nuestro motor para poder seguir trabajando.
So, we went around the globe, and now, to conclude, we go back to Nepal. Back to Nepal, 2015. And my question is, could we have avoided this situation in Nepal? What if? What if we have had a tool to analyze the risks of our product development mechanisms? So If we have had an opportunity or a tool to kind of look at the risks on the environmental, on the economic, and on the social side of the product development, we would have seen very fast and very quickly that health-related risks with mountaineering tours are huge. They're immensely high. So with Swiss Contact, we have developed a tool which we use for product development. We didn't have that in the Swiss private sector back in 2015, but we have it now. And we go from indicator to indicator, and we check on this product which I'm about to develop. What's the impact? Is it positive, or is it a risk, a potential negative impact on what? On aspects around environment, on aspects around economy, and on aspects around social impact. It's a very, very handy and simple to use tool. It's not scientific, but it helps to identify the biggest chances, impact positive, but also the biggest risks of ideas which we want to implement or which we consider to implement. And back to Nepal, with this health risk, with this huge risk on safety of people working in the mountains, if we had known that or identified that, we could have put mitigation measures in place also back in 2015. We could have gone and said, for example, we need to educate the local people working with us in how to move and behave on glacier. We could have gone and said that the Swiss private industry, the tour operators, they need to have a guarantee in place, and they need to commit through a code of conduct that people, regardless of tourists or staff or local people who accompany the tour, have the same conditions if something happens. There could have been higher prices that people could have been insured for the tour. So there would have been opportunities to avoid. I'm sure, yes, we could have avoided this situation, but we didn't. If someone is interested to learn more about this tool, we can talk after the presentation, or you can also reach out to SIPO to learn more on how to use and apply such a tool like this impact wheel. Now, as takeaways, I want to repeat again the collaboration. In Tunisia, in the Dahar Desert, collaboration was the most important part, to bring together the 10 villages who wanted and should have developed that tourism offer to make sure that they see their destination as one. So without collaboration, it's very, very difficult to go on the international market. Then in the Madre de Dios region in Peru, we have seen that the innovations and the ideas and the creativities are with the businesses. We need to support the businesses. They drive. We create the roads, the politics create the roads, but deciding where to drive, fast, slow, 2 people in a car, 5 people in a car, backwards, forwards, the decision and the power is with the businesses. Then, when we talked about Casos, I want to repeat that for us, it's very important that we valorize the traditions and the history, and that we support the communities to promote their tradition, and that we don't try to copy something from elsewhere, that we don't try to change, but that we try to support their vision by having dialogues and by letting people decide on their own. And last but not least, the case in Nepal, sustainability is not a coincidence. Sustainability is a decision. And I end again with the words, those who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world, they are the ones who do. And it only takes one person to make a positive change, and it could be all of us. Thank you very much for your attention. And Thank you to Juan in the back of that room who did translate the whole session simultaneously